Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. So, last night at Holyrood, they had the vote on the budget, and if you were hoping for rebels on the SNP side, you will be mightily disappointed. We had our hopes pinned on two in particular, Kate Forbes and, of course, Fergus Ewing. Fergus, of course, has other issues. He has other fish to fry when it comes to the SNP, and if you wait until the next video, you will see why. Separate video for him, all to himself. However, they did push through. Those two that we were hoping would rebel turned out to just follow the party line. They don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to be seen as acting against their own party. And I think that's a shame. I think Kate could have stood up on a matter of principle and rebelled and said no and been seen as someone strong, as a natural gathering point for others. And she could have led the charge and become the leader of the party. I think now she will still become leader, I do think that, but I think that the moment has gone. And for now, she'll have to put up with just being the backbencher and an underling in a failing party led by an absolute awful man, a racist, an incompetent, a buffoon, and, as we now know, someone who is deeply, deeply corrupt and who's now, it seems, allegedly committing fraud on the public purse. Perhaps that, of course, is why he hung on to Michael Matheson so long. Who knows? Not for me to say. Not yet, anyway. But we will have a look at this story about the budget to see why it was pushed through and how awful it will be, and why nobody in the SNP seems to have a spine. Here goes. So, SNP and Scottish Greens vote through a budget which hammers businesses and leaves Scots in a state of despair. It's overly taxing, it's underfunding, it is cutting services, it is destroying infrastructure, it is not directing money where it needs to go. Instead, it's pushing still onwards for independence, which is outside the remit of the Parliament, outside the remit of the government, and totally impossible to achieve at any point unless there's a referendum, and that can only come from Westminster, and there's no sign of that for at least another 15 years. And yet here they are spending money like that on something that will never, ever happen. It's criminal. And when you look at the people who are suffering and indeed going to die as a result of this budget, it seems that perhaps there is a case for a class action against any government that's doing this. That may be something that people need to look into. I don't know. Not something I can do, but I think there's a possibility of it. Anyway, Finance Secretary Shona Robertson managed to push her widely derided budget, meaning cuts for housing, ScotRail and enterprise organisation. But it increases for benefits and social security, but not in real terms, just numbers, as well as higher income taxes for thousands of Scots. And that, of course, is just the beginning of it. By the time you add everything else on, the cutting of infrastructure costs, the imposition of higher costs by councils, left, right and centre for all the services outside of the monies they receive from council tax, people are going to be not just a bit worse off, but a lot worse off. And the services cut to the most vulnerable will be in a terrible position. And it's all done because of their ineptitude and their constant need to waste money on things they don't need to spend it on, and indeed in some cases shouldn't be spending on. The SNP and the Scottish Greens combined to vote through a universally damned Scottish Government budget which will hammer Scots. More than Edward I, I tell you. It will leave businesses and organisations in a state of despair. It means cuts to various sectors, including affordable housing, ScotRail, enterprise quangos and mental health. Yeah, millions, 30 odd million, was it, taken off mental health? I tell you, the self-ending rate in Scotland will go up. People will die. People will certainly die languishing in hospitals, waiting to be seen at A&E, or sitting for 19 hours in an ambulance in a car park, waiting to get into A&E. They will die on the cancer waiting list because they haven't seen an oncologist. This is how bad this government is. It could save the money, it could spend the money where it's needed, and it chooses not to. It's a stunning indictment of where their priorities lie. It also solidifies tax hikes for all Scots who earn over $43,662 due to a new tax band being introduced for those who make $75,000, and fiscal drag forcing the likes of nurses, teachers and cops into a higher tax band when they get pay rises. Councillors were also told that if they don't freeze council tax, then they will not receive millions of pounds in funding. Guarantee there's going to be a court case over that, because a big chunk of the 45 million of the 62 million extra that they magically pulled from the magic money tree was actually by the UK government for mental health and vulnerable people all across Scotland, and it shouldn't be done on a postcode lottery. So I suspect that Argyll and Bute may well be going to court for some of that funding. And of course, the SNP will lose again. They can't win a court case. They can't win a by-election. It's wonderful, isn't it? They are really a party of absolute losers. Despite the Scottish Greens speaking out against the freeze, their MSPs followed the SNP in voting it through anyway. Not because they believed in it, of course, but because they don't want to be thrown out of government, because they quite like that high payday that they're getting. Nationalist rebels, including Fergus Ewing and Kate Forbes, who have previously criticised the tax burden on Scots due to the negative impact on the economy, they voted it through. And I was hoping beyond hope that Fergus and Kate would have had the courage of their convictions, stand up and vote no. And had they done, it would have failed, and it would have been enough. And it would have brought down Shona Robinson. She would have been forced to resign, and probably Humza Yousaf as well. And that would have given Kate the in to go and run for the leadership and take it over. And I think she's still going to have to do it, but it's just now her position is soiled. She's now seen as being corrupt. I think she's been corrupted, and I think her day has passed. She'll still lead, but it won't be a strong leadership anymore. People will have seen that and just gone, nah, bit wishy-washy now. Scottish Tories quoted the words of businessman Sandy Begbie, Chief Executive of Scottish Financial Enterprise, who said that Scotland was becoming a dangerous place to be rich or create wealth. Entrepreneurs and businesses have all spoken out negatively on the budget, pointing out that it would not deliver sustainable growth. But of course, not having growth is what the Greens want. The Marxists hate the idea of other people earning money, creating wealth, creating jobs, creating opportunities, giving people the ability to be happy and to raise families easily. They like the state to provide everything, and that you become merely a drone of the state, ruled by the elite, who they see as looking rather like themselves. Liz Smith, Scottish Conservative Shadow Finance Secretary, highlighted that businesses were left in a state of despair after the Scottish Government's refusal to listen to them. She added, this SNP budget does nothing to stimulate jobs, investment, economic growth or encourage aspiration, but instead offers higher taxes and reduced public services. And the public services are not just being reduced, they're being decimated, and in some cases more or less taken away entirely. And 200 million off the housing budget at a time when unemployment is rising, when homelessness is rising, when wage stagnation has affected people who are still in a job, and now they're being taxed even more. There's going to be a massive rise in the cost of food and household products, because they're going to start taxing supermarkets, who will just put the prices up to pay that tax. And now they're going to start taxing you to go to work and park your car. It's just getting to a point where it's not even, Sandy Begbie saying, it's a dangerous place to be rich or make wealth. It's actually a dangerous place now to just try to exist and feed your family. It's almost as though they're going out of their way to deliberately encourage misery and poverty. And I genuinely think that they're doing this deliberately. Anyway, Liz Smith said, virtually every business group has condemned Shona Robinson's plans, which will hammer Scottish workers, the majority of whom pay more tax than they would in the rest of the UK. Just as an aside, we did the thing probably about a week ago or so now, maybe a little longer, where a third of Scots are actively thinking about leaving Scotland and moving to England. And with the younger Scots, under 30s, half. And that is because of what the SNP are doing to Scotland. It is absolute ridiculousness. Anyway, she said, for the second year in a row, they've failed to pass on the UK funding for business rates relief. So the UK gives Scotland all this money. There you go. This is so that you can help the businesses. This will pay for 75% of their business rates. Please give this to the businesses and let them pay their rates, kind of thing. And they've said, thanks for the money. No, we'll spend it on independence. There you go. And so Scottish businesses are struggling. Now, when you're paying, let's say, £1,000 a month business rates in England, but £4,000 a month in Scotland for the same business. Are you thinking that maybe you need to move your business? It's a possibility, isn't it? You could save £3,000 a month. Well, that's another person. That's another salary. You're saving someone's salary. You could employ someone to ease the load on your business or grow your business. Who knows? But that's the difference it makes. And that's why they don't want to do it, because, they just need money. And there's no expense, there's no explanation where this money's going. I'm pretty sure, and I genuinely think that there is a series of accounts all over the world, in little numbered accounts that nobody can get to, where money has been salted away, billions has been salted away over the years, so that when the tanks finally turn up at Holyrood, this lot can get in their private jets and sod off to something like the Lebanon or wherever, where there's no extradition, sit there on a beach, supping cocktails and sit earning 5% on their billions. Wouldn't surprise me. Anyway, Finance Secretary Shona Robinson blamed the UK government. Of course she does. Can't blame herself, can't blame her party. After all, it's the UK government that's wanking away £8 million a month on spin doctors in Scotland. It's the UK government that's spending millions upon millions and millions on these silly little pretendy embassies, isn't it? It's them. It's Westminster forcing them to do it, apparently. She said it was for the UK government failure to invest in public services and infrastructure. They're not failing. They're giving you the money. The whole thing about the Barnet infrastructure thing is, let's say Britain spends 100 million on a road scheme, then it will give 8.8 million to Scotland. Whatever it invests in England and Wales, it then gives a percentage of the same value as part of the Barnet consequentials. The fact that the SNP aren't investing in public services and infrastructure is entirely down to the SNP. Anyway, I'm going to come up, we'll round off and finish the video. So there you go, the worst budget in history pushed through by the worst people to ever run Scotland. And the two people you thought might stand up, might save the day, may represent a great hope for the future, bottled it and were cowards and went along with the party line. They towed the party line like good little drones. Deary me. Anyway, I shall finish there. Thank you very much for watching. Do please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video, and I will speak to you later. Bye.